I just put it a little bit away. Yeah, there was a news today that there are around 30 million vaccines would be available from the first week of January. But the news or the government is saying that these vaccines would be given to the health workers first. So for a normal people, it is going to be available somewhere after the March next year.
So I think let's start. It's right 4 p.m.
I think, yeah.
Okay, so by the time more people join us, I'll start with the welcome address. So very, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, a very interesting event on connected with the asset management and operation and maintenance industry and the technology trends in this particular area. So I think as more and more grid connected plants have entered the entire energy generation industry, we all have realized the growing importance of asset management and operation and maintenance. So a lot of things have changed, definitely, especially in last few years. The size of plants have gone up, and grid also is taking more and more renewable energy in its system. Also, a mega pipeline in the offing and which is under construction. So this entire pipeline also has made the size of industry, the size of plants, and obviously the complexities also have grown. I think the baseline, the number crunching that everyone does at the time of bidding, it all depends on what kind of LCOE we'll ultimately be able to get from these plants, what kind of operational efficiencies we'll be able to get from these plants, whether these numbers that we are doing in the boardroom, while taking those small bets of whether to go down by 1 paisa or not at the time of final bidding. So ultimately, it depends on how efficiently we does manage our PV plants, operations, maintenance, asset management, how well we mobilize our resources, how well we remotely manage it. So there are various aspects to it. I think last webinar on this topic, close to this, we did around 4 to 5 months back, and I thought let us catch up again and gather the views of industry and also explore what are the new technology trends, how we can address this issue and this part of the entire value chain in a much better and efficient manner. I'm very, very happy to announce that we got support of SENSEHAWK, who has taken a leadership role in addressing and really putting an innovative solution to help to help make the lives of asset managers much better. Before I introduce the speakers, I would love to introduce myself. I'm Anand Gupta from EQ Magazine. So it all started for me 12 years ago with immense love and respect for solar energy and its potential to make India Atmanirbhar in terms of, because we've been basically importing only from outside, from other nations, our fossil fuels. And obviously, more than 1 billion people living in the country. And if the source of energy is only fossil fuels, definitely it is not sustainable, not good for the environment. So we never thought that it would turn into a miracle. It has turned into a miracle, ladies and gentlemen, and we all know this industry is extremely promising, and I think one of the most or the fastest growing industry in this century, especially in this decade, I would say, because the way technology and price curves have evolved is truly miraculous. What we have been doing is we have been publishing a monthly magazine in print and digital. We have been publishing daily newsletters. We have been keeping a daily updated news website. So our publishing platform definitely has been serving the industry professionals and the companies with a platform for knowledge sharing, knowledge gaining in terms of technology, policies and regulations, markets, outlooks, opportunities, challenges, etc. Along with this, we are quite active in organizing conferences, webinars, events, interaction. So it has been definitely our aim to provide a platform for the industry professionals where they can really speak their mind and heart out, interact with like-minded people, and also for the companies in this sector to get an opportunity or a platform to connect with each other and grow. We have also enabled a lot of cross-border networking and interaction, especially in this pandemic, by expanding ourselves in Southeast Asia, Middle East, Europe, Indian subcontinent, etc. And definitely, we look forward as the pandemic gets over, so we can start doing our regular conferences, events, trainings, product launches, buyer-seller meets, etc. So that's a very, very brief introduction about myself, ladies and gentlemen. Now, uh, I warmly welcome you all today's EQ's webinar presented by SENSEHAWK on digital tools and analytics for efficiency in PV operations. And I'm very, very happy to announce a very distinguished set of panelists we have. And I really feel fortunate that all the top-notch developers and EPCs and IPPs who have big plans have shown interest, and they have confirmed their participation, and they are in the room today. First of all, thankful to Dr. Negi from MNRE to agree to join the session with us. Then I warmly welcome Mr. Prashant Kumar Upadhyay, Manager PS from Solar Energy Corporation of India, Mr. Rahul Sankhe, President and Co-founder of SENSEHAWK, Mr. C. Chaudhary, CEO of AMP Solar, Mr. Kapil Kumar, Head O&M Division from Azure Power, Mr. Dinesh, Head Asset Management from String Energy, Mr. S.K. Mathusudhana, VP and Head O&M SB Energy, Ma'am Shilpi Dangi, Senior Manager from Semcorp Green Infra Limited, Mr. Brejesh Kumar Jha, DGM Distributed Solar Operation and Maintenance from Renew Power, Mr. Sudhir Pathak, Head Central Design and Engineering from Hero Future Energies, and Mr. Premchand, from General Manager Tata Power Solar Limited. Very, very distinguished set of panelists, and give me immense pleasure in welcoming all the relevant stakeholders. More than 150 registrations have taken place, so it really shows, despite so many webinars, the importance of this subject that we have taken up. We're happy to have Mr. Viral Patel, VP Sales from SENSEHAWK, as moderator of the event. So what I will do is first invite our moderator to set the context and elaborate more on the agenda, and to set the context and set some initial food for thought. After the moderator introduce the topic, I would love if we can have a presentation by SENSEHAWK. So it'll really kind of set a direction of this event, and then we can go on and start inviting all the panelists for their views and do interaction. Let us set some basic rules, ladies and gentlemen. So we have this amazing chat box feature in an online platform, and in this chat box can be used for networking, for interaction, for Q&As. So please make use of it. Regarding the mic, so I request you all to please keep yourself muted at all times, except only the moderator and speaker. When you're speaking, please unmute it. Regarding the video feed, I request all of you, all the speakers, to keep the video feed on at all times, and I request all the attendees to please keep the video feed off at all times. We also are going to have polls today, so I'm going to, at the request of moderator, gonna display the poll, so it can also be quite interactive, and it will be interesting that at the end of the event we can announce the poll results. So I think that will also be a very, very special feature for this webinar to go forward with. So without wasting any more time, I'll hand over to Mr. Viral Patel to start and set the context. Thank you.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for the highlight, and I would really thank you for the topic which the EQ has chosen, and you regularly keep organizing events on this, because I think this is a very pertinent topic, specifically from the fact that India is going solar, and there are a lot of learnings that can not only be had amongst us, but we can also take it global. And when I actually saw the speaker list, the panelists which are there, then some of the figures that itself are startling, that the important areas that we are tackling is between the speakers, they are managing close to 10 gigawatt plus assets. Yeah, thanks. So the speakers today, they are handling more than 10 gigawatt plus assets. This is not including the assets that SECI indirectly has, and also the assets that Tata as an EPC is doing it. And the companies, again, these companies are going to add 15 plus gigawatt over next 2 to 3 years. So that itself is a mind-boggling figure that the speakers will bring together from their knowledge and sharing. So some of the key context that I would like to set in terms of the overall agenda for the topic is how we can basically exchange our learnings and the best practices, and have discussed more areas for improvement in the asset management as a function, because that is something, after once the project is set up, it's a key function which enables and decides whether are we meeting our IRRs and giving the value back to the investors who have invested into these assets. Then the second main point that we should touch during our discussion across, that how we can further drive value out of the asset management as a function, and what would be the key enablers area. So obviously digitization is something which is top of the mind, and also it's basically changing the whole lot of industries, right, from transportation to everything. So how does the digitization from efficiency and effectiveness perspective for a solar asset management function can drive value out of this particular area? I mean, one of the areas that I see this thing evolving is asset management right now. Still, from a lot of perspectives, if we see, it's a cost center function where it is just described that within a certain budget and the target, a certain activities needs to be done. But there is a lot of potential to move from the cost center mindset to a profit center mindset, and some of the tools how they can help us. The third area would be how the digital tools and analytics, which again is the area across the industries, that all the industries are aiming to drive further in their respective functions. Then I would say, moving forward to ensuring that these two things are not just as a one-time initiative, but they are something as a continuous improvement within the function. So unless and until, say, from the production industry that I come from, there was regular usage of Kaizen, something from the production culture of Japan and all, that how can you continuously improve yourselves, small steps of improvement, which over a sustained period of time sees a leapfrog change. So yeah, with this, I would say share the mic to Rahul to kind of share a brief about what SENSEHAWK does.
Rahul, you are on mute.
Realize. Thanks. Thanks for the reminder. Thanks, Viral, for the overall introduction, and thanks, Anand. Warm welcome to all the speakers. Thanks for agreeing to join and share your thoughts in this webinar. I think this is a very pertinent topic. SENSEHAWK was started with the thesis that the level of digitalization in solar is still sort of in its early stages, right? There is, of course, a lot of SCADA data that gets collected and performance that gets monitored, but there are other parts of data related to the asset that tend to be, very sort of scattered in different data silos and are not necessarily available or managed properly. And that's a very important aspect when you come to this whole aspect of asset management, because when you are looking at managing, building and managing an asset over a 25 years plus of life cycle, the key question becomes, what is happening to this data? How is it being effectively stored, organized, and then mined for, further insight and effectively then driving performance, right? So what I'll do is I'll very quickly go through a short presentation. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Visible.
Yeah, so SenseHawk, what we have built and are building is a SenseHawk core platform. Basically, it is, I think, a first of a kind platform that is designed to handle the entire life cycle of the asset from the design development phase all the way through end of life. And it is what we call an asset-centric lifecycle management solution. So we basically put the asset at the center of all the data organization, data collection, and data analysis. And in a sense, what we do is create a digital model of the asset first, and then there is a whole host of applications around it that collect data, analyze data, and generate insights, and then help you manage the asset as well. That is the overall vision. We, of course, have started with a set of applications that serve very specific needs right now. That includes drone data analytics and applications related to that analysis, which drive workflow and collaboration or enable workflow and collaboration for teams, both in site and office. Another key feature of this platform is designed to be sort of extendable to any new sensor that comes along, right? So today, of course, we can handle drone data quite effectively. Tomorrow, if you have robotic rovers going around the plant, collecting information, or even robots collecting data, we should be able to write a simple application to pull data into the platform, right, without having to rely on another piece of software to do the job for you. So it's infinitely extendable, and we intend to keep adding to this functionality, and eventually add integrations to ERP systems and so on, so that you can basically rely on a single sort of a software platform that effectively becomes an operating system for solar PV assets. Currently, we have a set of applications on the platform that address certain needs, and this is just we're just getting started with this as of now. So Terra is a terrain analytics tool at the development and the pre-construction stage. This again relies on drone data and allows development teams to effectively work with site information and collaborate around that, so between development engineering teams, and manage the development process more efficiently. I is a construction management tool. It again leverages drone data and analytics to give you good insight into what's going on at your site, especially in this situation where you have travel constraints due to COVID. You can get a very good bird's eye view of exactly the site condition. We do use AI, effectively machine learning based analytics, to extract key features and progress parameters and quality parameters from this. This, of course, doesn't rely only on drones. We also have mobile apps that can allow you to just capture data from site digitally. The third application is thermography, which is again drone data analytics. So drone mounted thermal cameras can be used to do 100% mapping of your plant condition. This is for operating assets. And this is actually turning out to be a very interesting tool. I'll share some insights from the work that we have done so far, high level. And I think this is something that every asset manager and O&M manager should add to their toolkit as something that they do on a regular basis. So that's a thermography tool. We have another application called Vault. It's effectively a Google Drive of sorts, but it allows you to organize all the information and associate or tag it to specific components in the digital model. So if you need some information about an inverter, you just open the map, click on an inverter, and open a vault, which has stored all the information related to the inverter. So that makes it very intuitive for people on site or office, wherever, to access relevant documentation. And then every document has very granular access control, so only people who need to see what they are allowed to see will be able to see or access those documents using Vault. So it's a visual way of organizing data and information related to your plant. Desk is a ticketing solution, ticketing that allows you to manage tasks between site and office. So this is, we have a mobile app as well. So once you create a ticket, you can associate it to a table, inverter block, switch yard component, transformer, etc. And it gets pinned to the GIS layout map. So the site engineer just has to open the app and see where the tickets are across the site and navigate to that location using Google Maps type of functionality, on this app. So this is the app that allows you to access all these applications. So effectively using in your iOS or Android device or mobile, or tablets, you can access all this data and work on, tickets, access documents, and so on through, from the field as well. And it works in offline mode. So far, we have, been providing support. Our solutions are being used across 400 plus sites in 15 countries. We have 80 customers, and solutions have been used for over 28 gigawatts of analytics. A large chunk of that has been in thermography, where we have done over 12 gigawatts or analyzed over 12 gigawatts of assets across these countries. So I'm just going to talk about a few points that I would like to leave with. The idea is not to present our point of view, but more to pose certain questions to the speakers and to the audience as well, to basically think about asset management 2.0, right? Generally, the tendency for asset management, O&M, is it's thought of as a cost center in a dollar per megawatt basis. The question that I would like to, or we would like to pose is, should it really be a profit center, right? So, what kind of metrics do you essentially measure? Are you measured by, cost per megawatt, or are you evaluated by EBITDA per megawatt hour, right? Are you looking at just performance ratio, or are you looking at investor performance ratio? Managing to budgets, or are you managing to, NPV maximization? So this is the kind of shift that, we think may be required if you really want to move to asset management 2.0. And then there are, of course, multiple aspects of asset management that all our experienced speakers here will very well attest to, that they manage on a daily basis. But you have to basically push continuous improvement along each of these dimensions, right? Whether it's not just plant performance, but it's also about operating cost management. It's about financial reengineering, legal contracts, negotiation, technology updates, adaptation, using newer sensors, analytical tools that become available, and then ultimately people management as well, right? So it's almost like thinking of this like an SBU that you would in a conventional sort of a multi-business organization. The next point that I would like to make is that it really, data and digital has to be at the heart of asset management 2.0, because at the end, what we are doing is managing data. You have data being collected from all kinds of sources, from the plant SCADA, from new sensors and technologies like drones. There's field O&M data of work that's being done by technicians in the field. There's spare parts. There's quality information, warranty management, contracts, compliance. So I mean, all the asset managers here deal with this, all the time. The question is, how do you put this at the center and then organize, your entire approach around it, rather than the other way around. So this also requires, seamless collaboration and workflows between the various stakeholders involved to make this or extract the most value out of this. I also use the word called digital twin. I'm sure some of you are already thinking along these lines. It is basically creating a virtual model of the plant, including all the data about the site, and then keeping that at the center as you think about or manage your assets. Right? The third point that I want to sort of quickly put out there is, there is a saying called "well begun is half done." So what is the role really of construction quality and the data that you collect during construction in asset management, right? Or improving the effectiveness of asset management. So this involves points like organization of all asset data and handing it over, mapping component serial numbers to locations in the plant, doing systematic design versus as-built, construction quality assurance, and then ensuring that that information is available to the asset management teams to know what were the sort of incidents or events that could have a bearing on O&M down the line. And that links to digital punch list management, warranty decisions, spare parts management, and so on, right? So there are several decisions and processes that happen during construction and pre-construction that have a bearing on asset management. So the question really is, are you using digitalization extensively in your HOTO processes, or is it still a lot of Excel plus email based sort of coordination that happens? And then what happens to this data? How effectively is it stored? How effectively is it accessible to your teams as they go about managing the plant once it goes into operation? The fourth point was around continuous improvement, the philosophy of continuous improvement, because there is a tendency that we've also seen that plant hits a PR, which is a design PR. Is that adequate, or can you do more, right? With the plant, is the plant capable of doing more? So how do you basically extract the most out of the asset while ensuring that the health of the asset is as managed for the across the life cycle? So that requires continuously benchmarking processes. It's the sort of Japanese philosophy of saying, whatever I can do in X, can I do it in Y, less amount of time? Can I do it more effectively? And then measuring all key metrics, process metrics as well, like mean time to repair and so on, and driving improvements along those. And then there are, of course, digital tools that can help. Once you have that mindset of continuous improvement, we have realized that drone-based visual thermal analytics can definitely help. And in fact, some of our customers globally are increasingly beginning to budget for having drone kits, along with the initial capex itself, because there is value, right, in the spirit of continuous improvement there, that you can keep sort of squeezing more out of the plant. There are solutions for ticketing, digital tools for ticketing, task management, that can help you be more efficient and effective at managing alerts, alarms, and any field PM activities or even corrective maintenance activities. Then use of tablets and phones for site personnel to ensure that everything is sort of digitally captured instead of using pen and paper. And then finally, it's about data organization, document management. Are you able to retrieve what you need and maybe 2 or 3 clicks of a button, right, on an interface, as and when you need it? So this is also feeds into the efficiency of this thing. So in that spirit, which are the digital tools that are most helpful? Just the last 2 slides that I have, I would like to share some insights from the drone thermography that we have done. We have done over 12 gigawatts of thermography across multiple countries, different types of assets, from rooftop plants to utility solar. And what we have found is that on an average, about 2.1% capacity, or 2.1% of the modules were impacted with hotspots, right? But best-in-class plants were actually at less than 0.1% for utility scale. And incidentally, there's no correlation to the size of the plant, right? In what we found, there are some large plants as large as 100 or in fact 200 megawatts that have this kind of a hotspot performance ratio as well. And there were worse plants that were as bad as 30% of panels impacted with hotspots. In rooftops, we see a higher incidence of thermal hotspot defects. On an average, it was 4.8%, and the worst one was 50%. But again, the best in class was less than 0.1% impacted. Our estimates of energy loss from this range anywhere from 0.5% to 3%, depending on how bad the situation is. I'm not counting these outliers here. I'm sure that the energy loss was much higher than this number. And the typical delta T that we see is between 10 to 15 degrees Celsius median, and highest is we have seen hotspots that go up to 40 to 60 degrees, up to 60 degrees Celsius. This is on a STC adjusted basis. What we realize is that if you have a drone kit on site or as part of your O&M plan, it becomes very easy to just conduct these thermography scans quickly in-house, more frequently, rather than the once a year kind of exercise that you do. And it will turn out to be a lot cheaper to do this, which adds more value as well over the long run. So this is part of the continuous improvement philosophy, to ensure that you're trying to maintain the health of the plant and push more out or extract more from the plant. The last point is around digital tools to improve efficiency, effectiveness of field O&M. So this is about using more intuitive and easy to use ticketing solutions in the field, which basically operate on a map layer where you can see the layouts, you can see where the tickets are in the plant, and you can use mobile apps to effectively access the tickets, update information, and so on, everything digitally, so that you can track exactly what's going on. You don't have to waste time creating reports and Excel-based, filling out Excel-based templates in the field. So that improves the effectiveness and efficiency of the field O&M. So this is just an example of a digital tool there. So I'll stop here and then hand over to Viral to take the discussion forward. We would love to get some points of view from our speakers.
Thanks, Rahul, for the good insight, specifically on how the Kaizen can help the industry and how it can leapfrog into the next stage of managing these assets. I would like to invite Mr. Sudhir Pathak. He has interesting perspective to share, that how from the design drawings to the assets once they are handed over, what is the process and how critical it is in the entire asset management. Over to you, Mr. Pathak.
Hi, thanks, Viral and Anand. Yeah, see, as I have been keep on telling in earlier discussions and talks as well, that for any plant, most of the story gets written once you design and execute, right? Because maximum thing, if you take care that if you are able to ensure that whatever you have designed is really being implemented and really being tested, then you can ensure that now whatever is being taken forward for O&M, you will have a minimum output, right? So to answer your question, that from design perspective, how we ensure that it is being implemented in a right way, there are 2 or 3 ways. First of all, whatever we design, that we need to deliver to our execution team, not through specification, but there are 2 or 3 ways how we communicate. First of all, we communicate through the drawings, definitely, but there are huge things which are between the lines. So that we have to deliver to them through SOPs or standard operating procedures, which they ensure that they comply. Also, like the testing instruments, whatever, or whatever transformers are there or model mounting structures are there that are being designed. So that need to be tested in a proper way, and then it has to be recorded, and then it has to be shipped to the site for the execution. Third thing is that while we are in the execution process, so as you mentioned your name, SENSEHAWK, right? So there should be a hawk's eye to the system, so that because you can't be there, you can't be present there, now that you can monitor exactly, a design person can't monitor the people there during execution, and other the people who are into execution. So we need to delegate, we need to monitor the complete process through our quality inspection. So there we should have a list of RFIs, the request for inspections, wherein we can sensitize our execution as well as our OEM partners or the execution partners to ensure that whatever we have designed for, for example, in case of an MMS, where if we define the MMS piling of 1.8 meters, so there should be a request for inspection specifically to ensure that it is being implemented. In the same way, if the transformer is there and it is being tested, it has to be tested for some kind of insulation resistance. If it is not being tested and charged directly, so then again that will lead to another set of problems. So in that way, we have to ensure that whatever we have designed through SOPs, through drawings, and through our quality process, it is being implemented. This is the prospective way. And now coming to the last point regarding the impact of digital tools or digitalization. As we know that, as Rahul was saying, that the most of things are being taken into CapEx. In the older times, we used to have the reactive maintenance, then we came down to the preventive maintenance, then predictive maintenance, and now it is more of prescriptive maintenance. So the digital tool, the digital technology is leading us to that particular process. where if you are able to predict that this inverter is going to fail in next 10 days, and then you can even prescribe what to do in order to ensure that your inverter is revived before it gets failed. So there the digital technology, and like for example the hotspots are there. So if you can have a prescriptive maintenance just by the artificial intelligence which your system or anybody who is having such a wonderful background of creating the artificial intelligence based outcome and prescription, we can very well define. So if this can be taken in the capex model, so that once the system is in place, immediately once the handing over, taking over is happening, you on the day one, you are able to generate to your desired level, which will in any case improve the system and lead to whatever LCO you have been designed for. So this overall I wanted to state about how I think that from design to O&M, which can develop a complete chainage of SOPs and handovers and the use of the digital technologies. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Pathak. So I think a very pertinent point that how individual processes needs to be made more robust, such that you can move from a reactive to a prescriptive maintenance kind of an environment and help improve the asset management as a function. Thanks for your insights. So I would like to now invite Mr. Brijesh Jha to share his perspective. I think he brings now from a utility to a rooftop environment and handling such a wide scale of rooftop projects across India. Yeah, Mr. Jha, over to you.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Once again, very good evening to everyone. Actually, what I will try to continue from the last speaker, his point is very much valid. Basically, rooftop assets or anyway utility assets, whatever it is, start of the O&M activity should be done right from the development stage. That is a key area. Why I am bringing this point, because now as an industry we are matured and we have lots of bad, worst and good average projects are there. So those feedbacks are very precise feedback from the asset management and what operational teams should go to the designers, all the design engineers and design peoples, and they should take this operational feedback and incorporate in their new designs, the new projects. That way, what we can able to do it that whatever the issues so far we have found, and which are become the main reason for the plant not to perform as desired or as designed, that can be taken care for the future projects. A strong feedback system from operations to EPC team, basically from into the engineering to the project team. There has to be a system. As of now, this system is Excel and manual based or verbal based. This is what is industry is following. But now here also I see a good scope for digitization, and through tool it should go to a related project or design engineer or design person. All the feedbacks, all the plant inspection issues identified by the operations team, who are the asset managers, owners who are going to take care of the assets for next 25 years and try to manage the plant to get the designed and desired output. So that those feedbacks are very, very important, and doing it verbally, sometimes out of 10, 1 or 2 can be taken care and few can be missed. Doing in Excel is also not going to give a very good outcome. We have already seen these things. So digitization here is a key area of improvement as far as good projects to be done, and asset managers, it will ease the life of the asset managers. So that is the number one part where I can see the digitization scope for the feedback system from the operational team to the entire EPC team. It has to be automated, it has to be recorded, it has to be monitored, and through tool, if we are going to do it through tool, then only it has to be monitored out of how many open issues, how many have been closed, how many open, how many are critical, and probably out of 1,000 feedbacks, we can able to through tool filter it out, 10 worst problems which are going to impact my plant in a very big way. So that is an important aspect. Another challenges what I can see in the rooftop. During design, we budget few things, and those things are not in our control. I'm not talking about the irradiation or something. I'm talking about the policy related issues. When we are designing the project, probably we are considering net metering will be done in 30 days or 45 days, not more than that. But in reality, this is not the fact. In reality, because of these policies issues, net metering is some of the time, most of the time is taking more than 3 months. Some of the times and some of the places it is going even for 6 months. So those losses, because especially for rooftops, load curtailment or load requirement is very important, and if net metering is not there for a certain period of time, that is going to impact the project. So in my view, the major bottleneck and challenges is policies, where speedy recovery, and there also probably government can think of doing digitization to monitor that. There is no system right now to monitor how effectively, and in fact, monitoring system, we can forget it. I can say in other words that there is no TAT available. From any of the government policy, there is no turnover time available. How many days this is to be done? None of the policy and none of the government documents talks about it right now. So these are the one of the challenges which is impacting the plant. A rooftop will have specific different issues like plant access from the client sides also. Most of the time, the asset managers and the operational team will face this. They will not able to do the activities as per the predefined schedules. Because of the access issues, they have to always revise the schedules. These are also going to impact the plant, already impacting the plant issues and all. Then reporting system, a complete digitization, I want to talk about it. Remote monitoring system, and not only getting the data, like from SENSEHAWK, Rahul has spoken. To getting a data is very easy thing. You put the data logger, put the hardware, you can get a data on your FTP, or you can get a data on your software, digital server. Getting data from devices, at one side, you will have hundreds of inverters, then a string monitoring box, then sensors, weather stations, then AC side, all the equipments. That many one plant. And just assume if we talk about the portfolio, then you multiply what number of parameters, the data what we are getting for the plant. And if we are not going to do some kind of automation to get the best output from those data, then there is no meaning of digitization. So I wanted to convey from getting data from the site and doing a digitization. I want to add one more doing an intelligent digitization. So we can get lots of data. We can get data from all the devices, but whether we are trying to utilize it in proper way. Like I can give you one small example of inverter. 100 inverters are there at site. Now I'm getting from each inverter, I'm getting 10 parameters. So almost 1,000 data. 1,000 data coming from one side only for my inverter. Now what I should get it from there? So there has to be an automatic system which can tell me out of these 100 inverters, these 5 inverters are having the low performance, and it can indicate me very clearly by name so that very next morning my site team and the technician engineers will go and visit and hit that particular area. Because we are talking, when we are talking about the 100 megawatt, it means almost 400 acres of land. So doing things manually and monitoring manually and go and take a round and take the particular issue at a particular string level or inverter level is a real challenge. So doing digitization to take care of these losses, which are, I can say, is uncountable. Basically, these are being missed. Uh, no one is recording this. On 100 megawatt, if my 20 strings are down, it is hardly 120 kilowatt. I'm not going to bother about it. And it is not, if I will look at the overall perspective and generation, it is not going to give me the real sense that it is really 120 megawatt is down from the 1 year or 1 day or 10 days. So in that area, we need to do the automation from all the data we are getting from the sites. So that's all from my side on this aspect.
Thanks, Mr. Jha. Yeah, that's quite an insightful where you have tied up all the pieces from different data sources to how the regulatory plays an influence on the rooftop assets and how the entire feedback loop should work within the organization. Starting and asset management should not start at once the project is built, but when the project is in design phase. So I think it would be a good panel discussion subsequently. So now I would like to invite Mr. Chaudhary, who is COO at AMP Energy, and have his view on the topic. Mr. Chaudhary.
Yeah.
Oh, Saina, అయిపోయింది మీటింగ్.
Thanks, Viral. Thank you very much. And I think Rahul and you spoke a lot about the asset management. So hardly you left anything because you have covered everything. But anyway, from the like IPP perspective, I will give you some feedback about the asset management. So see, my network is low, so I will off my video. So asset management, I think it is going to play as a key role in the near future, because you can see the target of our government. The target is like 175 gigawatt or 225 gigawatt by 2022 and 2025, which is a huge target, and definitely we are going to achieve. And there is a lot of huge of pressure from the tariff point of view also, right? So looking from the investor and IPP perspective, I mean, O&M is going to play a very key role in terms of the IRR as well as the tariff, because when we are considering O&M prices, right, that is going to calculated as a NPV put over the 25 year, right? So whenever you are getting the prices, something it go to in NPV as a 25 year. So the tariff reduction or tariff expectation when we are putting in the financial model, I mean, there are the 2 and 3 parameters which is going to impact our financial model. One is definitely the capex, which include the BOS and module prices. The second one, I can say the O&M prices, because this is considering for 25 year in the calculation. And definitely we are looking from all the digital market or robotic people. They have to come up with the robotic and digital solution. So help us to the IPP as well as the investor to get the tariff within the range which we are expecting, like the 2.36 and 2.37, right? So definitely you have brought a very good tools. It is going to capture huge of our problem. So let us assume when we are talking about as IPP from the construction point of view or engineering point of view or asset management point of view. So our colleague already told the asset management is not at the time of operation only. It is required starting from the development till the operation management, right? When I am saying the development means when you have identified the land is a huge problem in India, right? You can get some of the places you can get in the bit of pieces. So that moment you have to go with the drone survey in the minute bytes. You have to take all the geotech and all the boundary coordinate, all the leaps and bounds of the coordinate by the drone, to imagine how much area is required, because the land cost is also very high. In the 2010, the cost was different. Now the cost is very huge, because all the farmer and everybody know, because when the solar is going to install, definitely there is a money there, right? So starting from the development, I am saying from the site survey, it is required from the digitalization. Either you can use as a drone survey, or you can use as a digital tool, which other people are also, I think, bringing for minimizing the timeline and something like that. When you start the construction, after the development phase, it will go into the engineering phase. Engineering phase is also engineer required some of the data, which is not very corrective. When I go to the site survey, and if you have a 300 megawatt is required around 1200 acre, it is a very difficult to conduct at a survey as a person wise, right? Either you have to go in the car or go to the physical, but very, very difficult to get all the data, because you cannot capture all the data, and definitely you will miss the buses because you don't have the right data at that moment. So definitely development, then engineering, and it will come under the construction. During the construction also, when 300, 500 megawatt project is going on, the DCI can say 800 to 900 megawatt of the peak. At that moment, how you are going to control the quality? Definitely you are going to put the quality guide. Either it is a civil part or a structure part or electrical part. Definitely there is a different kind of the quality people are there. But when you are doing the piling, right? When you are doing the marking, when you are doing the piling, when you are pouring the concrete at that moment, how you are going to take the quality part? We don't know. What is the quality, what is the cement, and what is the ratio of the concrete you have used? I cannot keep my one of the quality people always what they are doing the mixer. So definitely there is a this is a key term. I'm saying the drone, such type of drone should be there who can capture the ratio of the concreting, what the ratio they have used for the piling, because this is your pillar. Your pillar is not good, then definitely the quality of the overall plant will get failed. And generally it is happen in the high wind area, because the India, the wind is starting from 33 meter per second to, it will go up to 180 kilometer, more than that also, right? Even you've seen the recent, I think there is a gone more than 180 kilometer, which is a 50 meter per second. When we design, because we have a data for 25 years, and we have capture only for 50 meter per second, if the wind speed go beyond of that, and your pillar, your pile is not strong, then entire thing is going to be damaged. So this is also required during the construction phase. So once you get the construction, definitely it will go in the O&M phase. O&M, there is a two person is required. One is the project manager. He is going to hand over to the project to the O&M. There is a lot of punch list is required. During the punch list also, the digitization is required, because there is 1,000 of the item, and we cannot capture in each and every item in the Excel sheet, and this Excel sheet has been completed or not. So here digitization is also required. Now coming into O&M phase, which is a major and the critical part of the asset management. So when we are going to the like the O&M phase, definitely there are a lot of problem will come. The problem is starting from your plant level till your evacuation level. The plant level, because you have a lot of inverter, you have a lot of modules, you have a lot of cables, you have a lot of things should be there, and we are not able to manage. So definitely the digitization is required. Even we are doing the cold and hot commissioning during the project execution. The cold commissioning, I cannot close each and every item for all the cable and everybody, all the sizing and etc. like that. So definitely in the cold commissioning, you have to capture everything, and hot commissioning you are going to close. But definitely there is a digitization is required to capture each and every item. During the operation phase, you can see, because we have taken the module, but the module data is not for 25 years. Definitely it will degrade. So how you are going to check the hot spot, how you are going to check all the degradation rate. So definitely thermography is required. Thermography, definitely you have to go and capture through the drone. Drone, I don't know what is the accuracy level of the drone. So that thing is also required when you are going to take the data for the module, inverter, and other part of the materials to ascertain the plant should be run smoothly, and they have to give you the right result which you have taken on your previous in the financial model for the PVC analysis. So that is also required for the digitization. And definitely digitization not only required for taking the data only, but definitely some of the robotic cleaning is also required, because we are facing a lot of problem in India for the water scarcity. So definitely the dry cleaning mechanism should be also placed in the system, and they have to run parallelly. So both digital as well as the dry cleaning is going to be going to the future for the asset management. I can say the asset management, there is a mindless security is not still in India. So that is the future for the asset management. The mindless security is required because you are going to put huge number of the security with the gunman, without the gunman. But you can take the example from the outside India. They are putting the mindless security, right? So your fencing should be mindless, and the mindless plant should be there. Only 1 or 2 watch tower is required, and put 1 or 2 security in the main gate and your control room. But apart from of that 1200 acre of that one, you have to come up with some of the security system arrangement mindless, which directly detect if somebody is going inside of the plant, right? There is a alarming system should become. So that definitely this is a digital for that. And even some of the people came in the like the measurement of the soiling loss, right? Soiling loss, there is nobody is going to put the soiling station at the because this is very expensive. So you have to come up with the digital solution. Most of the people came into that. Now coming into the overall portfolio,
Mr. Chaudhary, sorry. Okay, yeah.
Overall
Okay.
portfolio, thank you. The
Yeah.
overall portfolio, there are a lot of things required, starting from the breakdown, services, right, reporting, monitoring, invoicing, and all the calculation, because we are sitting in the head office and our management wanted to see how our plant is reporting, performing, right? So you have to take everything into consideration, whatever is happening in the plant, because the plant people also sit in the control room, and you have a 1200 acre of the plant, but some of the data is not performing, some of the module is not performing. How you are going to measure, because there is a few megawatt, to 500 megawatt of the plant, and there are 2 and 3 extinguisher down. You cannot detect because the current is varying from 8.8 to 9 ampere, right? And some ampere will lost, so you will not able to know it. So that digitization is required, and extreme monitoring is necessary to capture all the data. So thank you, Viral. This is my actually some of the feedback about the asset management.
No, very pertinent point, Mr. Chaudhary. I think right from quality construction to the piling issue, which you've said, which is very pertinent, specifically in areas like Rajasthan and all, to the major theme, I think that you've set for the other speakers as well, is how it can be manless and you reduce the number of people required there at the site. So with this, I would like to invite Mr. Dinesh Majitia, who is heading asset management at Spring, one of the Actis portfolio companies. Over to you, Mr. Dinesh.
Thank you, Viral. Yeah, I will touch upon, asset management is a core subject for today. So yes, a lot of transaction level discussion has happened, but I personally feel, asset management is a holistic approach. It's not a transaction, somebody construct and somebody take overs, like as we popularly known as HOTO. So if you look at the HOTO as a holistic process, then it starts from involvement from the day one, where the asset management team is considered as an internal customer. Because in every organization, you have a project team, you have a BD team, and of course, all getting steered by CEO. So when somebody sees the asset management as an internal customer, then what we call the voice of customer, VOC, we call it popularly in asset management, that takes a center stage. Ultimately, what we are building a plant is we are putting to build some megawatt, right? 100 megawatt, 200 megawatt, or so on. And that's the time we spend the money, right? With the hope that, yes, we will have a positive returns, sustained return. And that comes from megawatt hours. And megawatt hours comes during the asset management time. Project stage, you keep spending money and you build something and which is going to give you the returns for next 25 years or even more. So for the asset management, there are certain things, yes, it should be start from beginning. In the sense, at least one asset manager who is going to become responsible for the rest of the life of the project, he should be involved in the early stage of the project, not at the HO level, at the field level, which will give a valuable input in terms of technical things. Because as somebody mentioned, one of my colleagues, there are a lot of learning happens in the project, unfortunately, it's not getting systemized in terms of capturing. If it is a company who build a 3-4 project, if somebody asks me, give me the learning project of the project 1, I mean, what we learn, documented, probably half of the organization will take some time to tell something and compile. But this is one of the practice I think we have been at Spring following. So every project, when it is in the fag end of the time, I mean, once we completed the last megawatt, there will be some handover time. During the handover time, the things are systematically captured in a different broad aspect. I mean, what went during this, maybe somebody was talking land, or maybe piling, or maybe on inverter, maybe on the modules, maybe on the logistics, maybe on the training of the people, maybe in terms of processes, systems. So that's very important, because it's a real case, it's by your real people, it's by within your ecosystem. So whatever the solution or learning comes, that can be easily replicated in the second station or second project, where you are ready to build very similar plant. So this is very important, where we have a concept of internal customer, and during the photo, we take it more holistically. I mean, it's not something later on O&M comes and just transactionally photo happens. So this is something very important, which I have seen in the, my career in power plant, which is more than 30 years. So that's very critical. And sometimes, people take it for granted. Oh, it's the first year of operation, so it is expected to have a lower availability, some dent in the generation, and people goes in the justifying mode. It's a first year. I mean, it's okay. We will make up. But second aspect, which that's why I'm trying to bring, is a financial understanding by the asset management team. Because many times, when I interact, I probably mainly work with wind also. When the certain OEM says, yeah, first high wind season is ours, then 24 is yours. But I would just like to put in a very proper perspective. The first season itself is very important. Just think of a new child, is in fat, and it gets malnutrition. What will happen is, for rest of the life, something which is in the sprouting stage, when you start your asset management, the plant has to be taken with utmost care, because you are going to build the process there, you are going to set the mindset, and more important, the ownership of the assets. So this is very important. In the early stage, people should be very, very careful. In terms of finance, if I call, if it is a certain plant having a say 100 CR revenue for next 25 years, and you have put good amount of money, and in next 25 years, you are supposed to have a 2,500 crore revenue. But if you lose 5% in the first year and 3% in second year, and the rest of the 23 years, you get even 1% higher than your estimate, still you are loser. Are you getting my point? I mean, at 5% energy loss in the first year, people take it little give and take. Okay, it's a first year. But if you look at your overall NPV, what you are denting, you are lowering it. It may be at the sigma level, if you generate 1 CR revenue more for next 23 years, grossly you may say, okay, my revenue is still 15 CR plus. But if you look at the NPV level, you are still negative. In the sense, your IRR is impacted. It's not the absolute revenue. In the early days, if you are not able to come up with the expectation in terms of, this is something very critically important, because a lot of colleagues in asset management, I would like to give a message. Yes, our first year is also equally important, if not more, right, in terms of NPV. So even if you generate gross over a 25 year, the economic value addition is not so great. And this is how I say it has to be a holistic approach, and it should be from day one, if not prior. Usually one person should be there who is really trying to see what is going to happen next 25 years. So this is what very important. Okay, we should take it as a holistic. And the early stage, yes, strength is important. And I will touch upon digital. Mr. Rahul has given a nice presentation covering the whole gamut of PV assets. Yeah, it's very important, because you can't lose in the one corner of some assets. Sometimes people are, go too much close to the plant, but lose the bigger picture. So it's very vital. Okay, there are the good digital dashboards are available for the different stakeholders. I mean, CEO, what he would like to see, or she would like to see, is something different than what HO performance monitor would like to see. And it will be again entirely different than who is the site manager is seeing. So this is where the digital helps, where you are able to generate your smart dashboard for a given role. CFO would like to see in a different perspective. CEO will like to see in a different, and this is how the digital helps. People say the data is the new oil, and is rightly so. It's generating a lot of revolution, and many company rightly so putting a serious investment. I will call it investment, because sometimes people perceive, okay, it is a cost to the company, right? I mean, when you are spending certain money towards digital, it is perceived, yeah, it is additional cost, as Rahul also mentioned, the cost per megawatt hour. But basically, if you make use of it and increase your top line, which is directly translating your bottom line, especially for renewables, because you have your fixed variable cost, you don't pay for the fuel, right? So whatever you can inch up your revenue line, is there is a healthy bottom line. That should be the approach. So whatever you spend, it should be considered as an investment, and it should be turned into investment. I mean, it should generate even your extra revenue, and which will not just sustain the cost of your digitalization, but it should give some superlative revenue. So this is what I wanted to tell on digital. We have a lot of things to tell, but I think we have a limited time. So I hand over back to Leah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. I mean, a very interesting perspective, and I would second that opinion that a lot of projects that we have worked on, where companies have kind of worked with us during our very early days in 2016, where they said that even the first year, though module supplier also says that there is going to be 1.5% degradation and all that, they said that we don't want to go with that mindset, that take it in a reactive mode, but we want to basically be in the driver's seat. So yeah, I really second that, where we have personally experienced it. So thanks for your viewpoint. And
sorry, Viral, I'm dropping. I have some other meeting. I'm sorry, so I'm dropping.
No problem. Thanks, Mr. Chaudhary, for sharing your insights. Definitely, we'll look forward to it. Sure. Okay.
So before moving on to the next speaker, I'm just interrupting. Sorry.
No problem.
So we have this amazing poll. So I request, like people have already started participating. So if everyone can just participate, so quickly we can come with the results of it. I see around 10 people have already voted. So I request everyone to please vote as soon as possible so that we can move to the next speaker.
Thanks, Anand. So with this, I would like to invite the next speaker, Mr. Prashant Upadhyay. He's right now in his role at SECI. And that would be a completely different perspective to hear from Mr. Upadhyay on how do they see these functions, though you are primarily an off-taker, but it would be interesting to hear your viewpoints. Over to you, Mr. Upadhyay.
Yeah. Thank you, Viral. Thank you for organizing this platform, medium where the industry can come together and share their experiences and learn from each other. So thank you very much for that. Well, you did mention that yes, we have a different perspective. We are mostly an off-taker, but speaking about myself, since I am also mostly an engineering design role, so most of the things that have been talked about are really familiar to me, and we also deal with many of these things day in and day out. What I would just like to, a lot of things have been said. Yes, when I'm as in looking at the solar or your generation facility as an asset that needs to be managed and that needs to be looked properly for profitability and not just minimum benchmarks, just crossing over the line, which has been for quite some time. Solar plants have been looked at as just about crossing the line so that you can have a lot of unpredictability involved. What I would just like to highlight, and taking it further from many the things that have been said, what amuses me specifically about solar plants is compared to other generating stations, this is basically a geographically spread, quite a geographically spread out station, and then which means there is different kinds of data involved here. Not just plant data, there's data coming from all sorts of equipment, but then there's also a lot of weather data is also involved. And so how do these things are to be layered and viewed so that there is a complete holistic view, even from the perspective of bankability of solar projects. There's a professional approach that should be what is desired is professional approach backed by state-of-the-art tools that allow easy decision making for all the project managers or for the project management, and something that enables frequent assessment of different model parameters. The key is to approach it this entire system look it at as energy governance from a very holistic perspective rather than addressing issues in a piecemeal manner. So in that perspective, the solar PV plant needs to be looked at not just as a generating unit, but as a complete ecosystem that includes even other elements like water supply. We have other obligations also coming from the government where where the government, and rightfully so, wants us to care about things like water harvesting. Those are also the resources that we are responsible for. Then there is auxiliary consumption, there is road infrastructure, power evacuation, so many infrastructure. O&M service employees. There's also a segment that we have created for that. There is an entire service sector that would be looking after that asset. So that approach requires us to look at it much more diligently. Lest we fall prey to the broken window syndrome, as it is called. So even coming from standing where we are in the national solar mission, these things are becoming more and more important. Also, we should take a cue from the Digital India mission, if I may just add this one. So where data itself is emerging as a source that can offer a tremendous competitive advantage. The decision is moving from not just from the elite few as it was called now to the empowered many concept, which is very much in line with the government's Digital India mission also. And more importantly, if the decision making systems are available to the people who are who is the frontline managers or the people who are closest to where the decision is to be taken, and those elements are available to them, that becomes very much important. So apart from all this, since I am also talking about dealing with engineering in my role here, I would just add some of the things that we have started doing so that maybe others also might be deploying some of those tools. So we are looking at while we have done or doing in the process of doing some of our own projects also. But we are doing a lot of project management consultancy for many of the government clients, and we have had quite a bit of learning ourselves specifically. So how we are trying to look at this is trying to create a continuum. I think this was also talked about between engineering and the operations team and the field team and the people who are at site. So there has to be a continuum, and information has to free flow completely, very very fluid manner. Somehow that gives me an analogy. I want to just give you an image of how Facebook works. Different teams working in different places, but the information is posted on the wall, and so everybody has a simultaneous access to that information and how it can be used. So documentation is a very important part of that. Documentation control. I think this was also talked about how that information is shared from the engineering to how it is being implemented at site. Field quality plans are in place or not, whether what has been designed is actually being implemented. And there is this, of course, this crucial element, like I said, because there is geography involved here, and not every element of it can be, or at least till now, is not that diligently deployed or used during the engineering and design phase. So somehow can we do that? Can we look at the time of designing itself, there are more GIS tools involved in the designing phase also. Then the kind of drawing submissions or drawings that we are preparing, we have been dealing mostly with 2D drawings. Can we, for something that is has such a geographical spread, should we move to 3D drawings perhaps? Will that give a more or give people an easier way to visualize how things are actually going to come up? So many of the things that go wrong because things are not properly visualized. So that might help. Tools of collaboration, for example, the engineering team. What we are doing, for example, I'll tell you at SECI how we are trying to do is we are using an online document management system where submissions are made. So we're trying to move away from that email response mechanism where drawings are submitted and then we respond and comment on it and try to coordinate over mail. instead we try to do that on the online platform itself and comment it right there, and that is simultaneously available to the where it is to be approved, to the people who are designing it, and also simultaneously available to the project managers, where you can highlight the issues at the right time, and even to the field team who might have an input right away, that this some important thing has not been taken care of in the documentation stage itself or in the design itself, and can be taken care of right away. So those are some of the things that we are also trying to do, so that there is better coordination and things that that the first foot is set right, then a lot of problems are saved anyway. So this is one thing that we are trying to do, and we are actually already doing it, hoping that this kind of that revisions happen less frequently, that information is conveyed fluidly, in a continuum to all the teams that are involved. And then second part is also about the O&M and kind of data or SCADA systems that we are using for getting information from our plant. There also we have moved away from, or rather moved towards now distributed IoT based controllers, where the plant, we are looking at the plant as what is called as IT plus OT. Yeah.
Just if you could conclude in 1 minute, because we're already running behind schedule.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Sorry
So
for that.
these are just
hear that, but yeah.
Absolutely fine. So two things based on our experience or whatever we are experiencing is just these two things. Seamless documentation that helps better coordination, something that we are also doing. And the second part is looking at gathering data from the field in a distributed architecture using IoT controllers, so that the IT plus OT layers can be put together and information systems are created. Perhaps something that an organization that like SECI could do, something that's also something that we are putting our mind to. Maybe SECI could be that organization which would have sort of a national portfolio, and then there could be cross-project benchmarking also, so that people have a sense of where they stand. So I would just conclude with that thought for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Prashant. So quite rightly said that SECI will be able to play a major role and enabler in driving this particular change, and asset management being one of the critical enablers of jobs as well as bankability of the projects. So with this, I would like to invite Mr. Kapil Kumar, who is heading asset management at Azure, and with almost the 2 gigawatt plus wide portfolio. We would love to hear your view, Mr. Kumar, that what keeps you awake at night handling such a large portfolio.
Thanks, Well. So first, I think this is a great. I would be very thankful for EQ to organizing these kind of events, because you always get different ideas while discussing with your colleagues. So, I would like to just summarize a couple of points which I feel that are quite useful even for all of us. One is that, as Rahul mentioned, that we need to move from the cost center to the profit center. I think that's a great way to move forward. Great vision. I mean, obviously there are certain challenges, because if we talk about cost versus possible uplift in the generation during the asset management, it may be like a 1/5. I mean, you may be able to create maybe 1 or 2% generation during the asset management, but your cost is much higher of the operations. And as I also Mr. Dinesh mentioned, that holistic approach, I fully agree that asset management cannot be kept separately and without linking construction, design, site selection. It has to be a holistic approach. Then only operations would be much better. And as Prashant rightly mentioned, that information sharing. I mean, multiple time I being a guy with the asset management, every time I hear that design feel that some feedbacks are not going to this design, or we feel that design has taken certain decisions where they did not, they did not understand that how the site operation is going to happen. to be managed. So I fully agree all these points. I mean, maybe I could little bit tell as Viral are that what are the things which keeps me awake. So I mean, if you look into from 2009 when the industry started till today, I think we have moved at a multiple, a very high space. We have seen a digitalization as a multiple level. I mean, let's say construction monitoring are happening with the drones, thermal imaging are happening with the drones. But I still see there are multiple opportunities where we can improve ourselves, like as Azure, I mean, we are the have the assets which are one of the oldest. We're operating from a more than a decade. So I can tell you that there are so many issues we are facing, and one of the biggest challenges I see is that how to predict the weather. I mean, in a state like Gujarat, where high DSM penalties, lower slabs, I still keep struggling. I mean, I leave this thing in the hands of the QC, but I feel my hands are tied. I can't do anything because and the penalties keep mounting. And whenever you have a large portfolio like Azure having a 58 different sites, there's always a challenges in terms of the standardization of the equipment. I mean, I may be having a 10 different kind of inverters, similarly 10 to 12 kind of module manufacturers. And whenever you go, I mean, whenever you try to go and meet with them and say that there are certain challenges with their system, it's very challenging to convince them. With the thermal imaging of the drones, I could show that there's a hotspot, but whenever it goes and go on the ground and try to find it out, it's always a challenge. So my proposal would be that let's explore one step ahead and try to have a EL images with the drone. So with the EL images with the drone along with the thermal imaging, I think this will solve a lot of problem with the warranty management point of view. And obviously this forecasting challenge, which is a big issue. Certain states where aggregation is there, I don't think there's a problem. But wherever aggregation is not there, have a lower band, there is a challenge. And also there are certain, I mean, we need to little bit explore. We cannot be dependent too much on the suppliers to fly the drones on a periodic basis once a year. As IPP, we also need to be a little bit independent, where we can do all these certain services or part of the services to be managed by us. And there the challenges are these regulation issues. I mean, DGC regulations are not properly clear. Somebody mentioned that we also need to little bit look into how to optimize the security cost. I mean, you can see that all these, when the solar was getting developed, everybody say that it's a low maintenance and very minimum level of security, but actually you need a security at the site. So we need to come up with a better practices where you can improve theft, you can improve any kind of, because it's not only theft, it's also a huge issue of the compliance point of view. So there probably we need to work and see how we can find it out. Now, one of the biggest challenge which I mean, not only me, I feel as the industry as facing that the quality of the data. I mean, you have the SCADA system on the ground, you have the data loggers on the side, but are we really getting a right quality of the data to do a further analysis? I mean, that's another one question I would like to put across to all the panelists and think about it, because the quality of data is very important if you really want to do a detailed analysis. And as an industry, now we are already, I would say, more than 10 years old. I don't see there's any company who's talking about that they could create a value of the predictive maintenance using machine learning or artificial intelligence. Is still something missing over there. I mean, I have a lot of plenty of data, but does right companies exist in the market who could analyze it? Because whenever you go, then also the algorithms are not developed that automatically you sanitize the data. So sanitization of data is not there. Predictive maintenance, a lot of work has to be done over there, and obviously this standardization of the equipment. So these are the three or four issues which I see that we are, I mean, as IPP, we keep facing, we keep trying to resolve it. I mean, currently as Azure, we have in-house developed centralized monitoring system. We can monitor each and every site. So we're trying our best, but again, these are the issues which still I feel other developers also feel, and we need to look into that how to improve over there. So These are just my thoughts.
Sure. Thanks,
Yeah, thank
Mr.
you.
Kapil. So you've given a lot of food for thought for the industry, as well as something upon us at SENSEHAWK as well, to look into it, part of the data which you've said. So we are specifically working towards some of those areas, and would love to share those at the appropriate time. I would now like to invite Mr. Madhusudana, head of O&M at SoftBank, again, one of the large IPPs handling more than 3 gigawatt and very strong future pipeline as well. So yeah, over to you, Mr. Madhusudana.
Okay, thanks, Viral. Thanks, all the participants and the panelists. So thanks for the opportunity. It was pretty much a refresher course happening, listening to various veterans in the industry. So just to start a brief introduction about the topics covered, then I will deep dive into my topic, which was given to me. So starting from the financial modeling, which Chotu Chaudhary has touched upon, basically the CapEx modeling and OpEx modeling, and the final IRR, which is getting out of the design. So the days are gone when the O&M cost has been considered as a thumb rule, and CapEx was designed based on the availability of modules, land, and other stuff. And today we are in an era where the O&M cost has been drastically reduced, and any change in CapEx will have an impact of OpEx. So it's a mutual coordination between us CapEx modeling and OpEx modeling, and looking into operationability or the sustainability of business for 25 years. For an example, availability of water, availability of labor, what will be the salary component, what will happen to the components, whether what is the replacement strategy, what kind of technology is good or bad. So many thoughts will go into the design component. That's many of the panelists have touched upon, that O&M is not starting at the photo process. It actually is part and parcel of the decision of the project. Yeah, and coming to the other part, as I said, the O&M cost is drastically reducing. I'm not giving the numbers anyway, but everybody are aware how the O&M costs are coming down. So it could be because of the scalability of the projects. It could be the watt peak is increasing drastically. It reduces the land. It reduces the number of components or equipments, or the inverter rating is going up, transformer is going up, right? And the robots are coming in. So basically primarily the scalability is going up. Technology is improving, automation is pitching in, and the last part is basically the main topic of the day is the digitization. The drones and the automation is playing a good factor in reducing the O&M cost. So let me come to the subject, which 3 key buzzwords have been given to me. One is the drones, second is the artificial intelligence, and third is the IoT in asset management. So let me directly dive into the drones. Yeah. So we understand that so many companies are recent past they develop, and one of the largest prominent player is SENSEHAWK. So is doing a very good job in terms of drone getting into the solar industry. So just I googled up so how drones are actually performing in India. It's the current market is around $885 million by 2021. And with a global UAV market is around $21 billion. And with PwC study, it is growing in the rate of 18% from 2017 to 23. So the industry is, the way you understand, 18% growth rate. Coming to solar, we needless to say 20.5% CAGR growth rate till 26. So imagine the growth of this particular industry and the solar, which is the future of this the entire globe. So everywhere this industry is growing. So it's all this going to the positive notes. So what is bringing drones on the table? So basically it is reducing the avoid hazardous man-hours. Basically the people who are going physically on the hot summer on the ground, say for a typically a 600 megawatt project has 4,000 acres of land, doing 100% inspection is inhumane, and it's very torturous, and at a very bright sunny day. It reduces the O&M cost, and it improves the productivity. So basically 97% of man hours is being reduced, 99 with a 99% accuracy. So drones are doing a great job in that, replacing a lot of man hours, lot of cost reduction, and in the time. Basically it multiplies the, basically it's 10 times faster than what you do in manual. So this is some of the, everybody know what is the importance of drone now. But how drones are helping in asset management. So when you come to an asset management, so even though it starts from the land survey, it helps in project monitoring, it helps in quality of the projects. Then when you come to the asset management, everybody knows about thermography, which identifies the hotspots in the module. There are so many different types of hotspots and give you what kind of defects are coming up, right? Apart from that, what else it can do? Basically, it can cover up the vegetation, it can cover up the land topography, movements of sand dunes in the Rajasthan. It can cover up the transmission line healthiness and inspection, which man can climb the tower and inspect visually and those stuff, right? And there are so many stuff, including the bottom clearance or the tracker movement, misalignment. There are so many use cases a typical drone can do just by hovering over the plant and captures large amount of data. You can able to identify the defects, create automatic ticketing system. Your workman will go there and resolve the issue. So which a humanly manual typical O&M can never able to capture all the defects. That is one major updates coming from the drone. Let me quickly move on to the other topic like artificial intelligence. Like Kapil was rightly pointing out that even though this industry has seen 10 years of operating data, many platforms do not have proper artificial intelligence based on big data. There are two ways of doing it. One is based on image analytics, one based on hardcore time-based time series data, right? So what we do in SB Energy is we have our innovation center, we have our innovation team, we have a good amount of say 15 guys with data scientists. We started working on the modeling. So right now we are getting some fruits in terms of like, so anomaly detection and prediction. These are the two major part when you have a big data analysis. And there are some versions called trained and untrained versions of it. Basically, there are so many use cases when you deep dive into it. And using a right team, right technical experts, you can start building up model, but it will take time, more than a year to train a model and coming out of it. So the sooner the better we engage, and the platform like SENSEHAWK should get into the real data analytics as well as the image analytics, because they have a different perspective. I like their modeling basically. On the image analytics, again, it is a huge size of data, which is image and videos, and comparing it and modeling it and tracking it over a period of time. So in SB Energy, as I think Dinesh has touched upon, when you model 100 crores in the first year and you achieve 95 crores, 5% loss is too detrimental for the project. So what we do is basically we do thermography at the HOTO process, at the commissioning. Once the plant is commissioned, we do the HOTO process along with the drone thermography. We will try to identify how many strings are not connected, how many strings are not working. So get into that, rectify as soon as possible with the EPC who has a large manpower. Once you take over the project and do a thermography with 10-15 manpower, it will take 1 month to rectify all those defects. So this is just an input to the industry that thermography is a must, even though it's costly looking for now, but I think this cost of thermography will keep on coming down. And at least once in a year, if you can able to do it, that's good enough. That's the current practice we have, but we are even trying to reduce it further with the different options available in here. Coming to the again AI model, so number of use cases is your IP. Each and every plant has a different technology, different instrumentation, different stuff. Based on that, you have to identify the use cases, start giving inputs using a third party or your own, try to model it. So that is going to save you a lot of penny. And from a cost center approach to a profit center approach, this is what we need to do. This is what the value creation is currently on. The last part is the IoT. Yeah. So from a traditional PLC-based SCADA, which most of the companies have, right now the industry is trying to shift towards the IoT because everybody knows it's Internet of Things. It is basically, it's a small mini computer attaching to each and every equipment or a ICR level or an inverter level. So that is basically each and every component or equipment is directly in contact with the digital platform. So wherein every inverter or every equipment is becoming intelligent. Basically, in non-technical terms, converting a normal TV into a smart TV by just attaching a Fire Stick or a Google Chrome. That is what IoT is. So tomorrow, when the AI is getting matured, the same AI algorithm will be implemented in that edge analytics called device in the IoT. So there will be humorous small brains engaged in the equipment level, making the equipment as intelligent like a smart TV. And today we enjoy smart TV easily, and nobody right now wants to go back to a regular conventional TV. The day will come, so it may take maybe a couple of years down the line, but industry is preparing for it. So all those technology which is on top stuff, drones, AI, IoT, which is the buzzwords and which will be reality in everybody's asserts, and that is going to add value to the bottom line. That's it, Viral. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Madhu. I think as one of the leading IPPs, you are already out there doing and setting the torchbearer work. With this, I would like to invite, since we are running short of time, I'm just trying to kind of run through the speakers and have a small Q&A in case if we get the time. I would like to invite Madam Shilpi Dangi, if you can share your viewpoints.
Thank you, Viral sir, for giving me this opportunity to be on this platform to speak. So a lot have already been spoken for the adaptation or digitalization, right from the starting to the end and towards the motto and towards utilizing digitalization in terms of increasing your IRR. So I'll just like to add to it more. I will not go back to that entire thing that why do we need digitalization. As an IPP, I'll just like to add to what we are typically doing internally. We too realize the potential or the way, when your assets are growing, it becomes extremely difficult for you to manage. So what you need is to have a centralized monitoring system, or it's not just a centralized monitoring system. Moreover, the system needs to have some intelligence built. You cannot have all human touch points at each and every place to give you reporting, dashboarding, analytics. So everything needs to be taken into, so all the data that you're taking into, the first layer is that you utilize that data, make it into very sensible data. Once you have sensitized the data, then you realize that which points you want to pick to have advanced analytics done on them. Not each and every data that you're collecting, not at each and every frequency at which the data is being collected is actually useful in a plant. So that is extremely important. The level at which you want to collect the data is also very important. Which components you want to take, which components you want to leave out, to ensure that you are able to bring out intelligence in the system. By adding to intelligence right now, typically you will see there's a lot of gigawatt of solar plants that are already installed, up and working. But the biggest problem is we have not yet been able to solve the mystery of predictive maintenance. We do have, mystery of corrective maintenance. So as to say, we have a list of what things should be done on, day-to-day basis. But we, even with a lot of data that is coming in, we are not able to understand that, how this data we can use to ensure that before a plant or before a component actually goes out or the fuse goes out, we are there to take the corrective action priorly. So this is one point that internally that we are also trying to work, and multiple platforms are there that are collecting data from past 4-5 years at each and every level, right from string to the HT, metering panels. But again, the output in the terms of all this data that has been collected is not on the platform. So definitely the industry needs to move ahead to understand that, whatever data we are taking up with the help of subject matter expertise, the industry definitely needs to develop those platforms where you can, have these kinds of intelligence coming into the picture. Moreover, with the forecasting scenario coming into the picture, the biggest problem is that you are left on the onus of a couple of forecasting software QACAs who are there in the market. But again, there is a huge problem because there is nothing you can do when you're going off the track or whenever their predictions are going off the track. So again, as we said, a lot of data is being collected. The data is being collected right from the monitoring point to the end point, but intelligence and data is not there. So ideally, how do we go about this? So we practically plan that, the IIT department and the operations department, they should be amalgamated. These two sections should not be left out. They should become the core of the system eventually, because they are the ones, once the project is done, the engineering team, construction team, they all are part of the project life cycle for a very short tenure. It's just the asset management team which is hanging on with the project for a very, very long time. So whatever needs to be done in order to make that available data intelligent for them needs to be brought out. That is one very big lacuna in the market. We have multiple platforms where we can record, view, monitor, report in all forms of dashboards, but the intelligence is still, I believe, will take a couple of more years to come into, once we have, very good data that has already been come into picture. And as I would say, a lot of people have already added to the fact that we should not look at asset management as a cost center, or not as an activity which needs to be limited by a budget. This is one activity that should be amalgamated with day in, day out, right from the engineering to, so concept to commissioning stage, and the thereafter the life. It should be part of that entire life cycle, so that, they can add their value and they understand that all the documents and everything is on board for them to help it. We have a lot of data where, we have a lot of cloud storage where we are putting in the data, but sadly the linking of, let's say that today we have to search for a warranty file for an HD panel. Unfortunately, you may have that data, but who and how it is to be linked, that chain is still missing. So I would again like to harp on the point that a lot of data is still there, but the industry needs to mature upon the linking and trying to bring out more, intelligence out of this data, so that it can actually be of use, help improvise on the man-hour usage, and it can actually give us, a meaningful data-driven decisions or ideology, to take things ahead and ensure that we are, in fact, not just achieving what we want, but we have a scope to overachieve what we are targeting at. So with this, I would just like to conclude, because we are already running a lot of time.
Thank you, Madam Shilpi, for insights. I would like to now go to Mr. Premchand. He is General Manager at Tata, handling large EPC plants that have been done. Over to you, Mr. Premchand.
You are muted, Mr. Premchand.
Mr. Premchand, you are muted.
Okay, sorry. Good evening,
No
good evening,
sure.
everybody. So, see, everybody talk about the digitization, how we can improve upon the plan. If you ask me how we are doing it in our plan, we have got around 3 to 3.5 gigawatt of installation, including the third-party O&M, so entirely taken care by us. So, this solar industry cannot be left like a Hero Honda punch word of fill it, shut it, forget it. It was the punch word when they came into Indian market. So in solar industry also initially thought that way. Now it is in the other way around. Fit it, mount it, and run it. So really a monitoring plays a big role in this. Today, with this 2 to 2.5 gigawatts, we have set up a central control room to monitor the performance of the inverter to the plant level, which is giving an immense opportunity to improve. And if you look at the cost, today most of the players are moved out of the string monitoring box to string combiner box, which is really impacting very badly on the entire solar industry, because the string level monitoring is the key in any solar industry. So we also developed a platform with the machine learning to find out which are all the strings out, and it will develop a text message to the site in charge and the zonal head, which things are out in the particular plant. We have almost done around 200 megawatt with that. And as everybody said, drone-based monitoring, yes, it is a wonderful tool to do it. We have done drone up to 2 gigawatt of drone monitoring. We have done it. And we have saved around 40 to 60 lakhs of rupees in currency in various projects due to the open strings, diode failures, and multiple falls in the strings. And we have developing is a asset-based monitoring of the entire installation, where robo can be used to identify the module, compare with the labeling and the serial number, correlate with the file, PAN file, and do a binning philosophy. With this, the major advantage what I am going to drive is I will do the analysis after 1 year or 2 years. I get the basic data and the 2-year data to compare and do a rebinding strategy. So this is also, it is going on very wonderfully in our places. And everybody talked about the innovation, and this has become a part of our job itself. We allowed the people to do innovation at the plant level and through Kaizens, and which has materialized substantially on various modeling also, it has helped us out. And regarding the safety, if you look at it, the punch word with us is safety with every action what we do. So we also digitalize the PM activities on the safety through drone-based monitoring and camera-based monitoring of the safety activities, which has given an immense correction of the various activities which has done at the site. Why? Because we are all remotely monitoring the plant. Even though the permits and approvals are taken for a specific job and there is a SOP available, most of the time there is a variation in the SOP. So this is something we have seen substantially making benefits to us. And digital twin is the new punch word in the coming years. Maybe India will take another 3 to 4 years to come to that level. And one major thing what I have seen and all of us may come across is the cloud computing and the weather forecasting. Today, if you look at it, all the people who have spoken, they must be knowing in the last couple of years how the weather patterns are getting changed. Today, we don't get a realistic weather data and predict what is the generation you are going to get in the very next day. I think the digital platform should deliver that sort of a data for an industry where we can forecast the right generation. Today, I do a design with respect to site and validate it, all the things happens, but the weather is something which really kills us. And everybody talks about the asset manager. In our system, there is an asset manager along with the engineering manager. They work together from the day of inception of the project, which help us to have a seamless communication between the site as well as the assets as well as the correction. So every project after execution, there is a review which has helped to do the management of change, which is helping us to redesign my engineering and come out with a lot of corrective actions on that. And apart from all the things, all the sites are linked with the QR code. So none of my engineer has to go to a equipment for looking for a data, or from the QR code scanning, we can pull out the data from our archive and take the O&M or the specific activity at the site. And it is really helping us, the solar industry, in a substantial way when the digitization pitch into part. And but one more thing, major event what we have seen is the e-security. This is one of the major breakthrough what we have done. We have developed algorithm with the new startup company where we have implemented a e-security, where we have got a virtual barrier as well as a drone to do the security surveillance, which has substantially brought down my O&M cost. Around 60% reduction is happening, and a couple of sites is already on a pilot scale it is running. This is a big way forward in any solar, because 500 acres, 1,000 acres of land, it is impossible to do a man-based what is security agency. So the drone as well as cameras is wonderfully working. So that is also one of the major things the future is going to see. So, and other than that, if you look at it, SAP-based monitoring, Power by is the MIS, these are very common for all the developers. And if you look at it, we have to go a long way, either in the state of the generation, securities, and the assets, all the things. So I think digitization will help us out, the O&M guys, substantially, if you look at all these points. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Premchand. So I think quite a few of the initiatives that you are doing, it's quite insightful and does give a roadmap to a lot of developers as well as us, the areas to work on for the future. And with this, I think we are almost nearing to a closing time for the webinar. So I think maybe a question or two, if we have from audience, we can take it. Otherwise, we would just conclude the webinar. Sure, I don't think so. So maybe just one
Always
question
first
from my
question.
side.
Always first question is.
I have one question. Like,
Okay. Yeah, Vikas.
Actually, I just impressed by Mr. Premchand sir's presentation. However, every host and the presenter was very good, and it was very insightful. This webinar, I attended several webinars, but this was really important for me because, well, I forget to introduce myself. I'm working as an engineering head and projects for a UK-based SENSEHAWK International at Vietnam, but at present I'm working from India. So we have distributed assets in solar, like rooftop majorly, and we have completed 120 megawatt in rooftop. So I'm actually looking for this platform to be there before end of December. So it was of my interest, like I should go through all these webinars and study these things, and attended some demos as well. So my concern is like how we can drop down that cost drastically. Like 60% cost drop down is a very remarkable thing if you can think about it. So I would like to hear from Mr. Premchand sir, like if you can brief me in 2 lines or 3 lines, like how the cost reduction has come down to 60%.
Yeah, if you look at it, what are the major drivers? What are the major drivers in this O&M? One is it is governed by the local bodies and some wages acts. So if you are looking at a 300, 500 acres of land, it is impossible. So earlier for a 50 megawatt site, I used to have around 40 securities. And managing them was the biggest challenge. And each is costing me around 20 to 20,000 rupees. And with this e-security, I was straight away cut down 60% of the cost. Today, my intrusion land level as well as in the office level, any intrusion, and we have put the night vision cameras, and it is perfectly works. And I can vouch it is something we should adopt as an industry, as a one, and it will bring down. And other things, cleaning costs, that is almost done with the robo cleanings, and water is become a scarcity. Robo cleaning is one of the best option for that. The rest of things are engineers. That talking about it is a wonderful tool to run, but there are certain issues of a DGCA approval, local police. These are all something we have to find out a way for it, and it will give you enough outlook on the performance of the module and where we are to problem. We will come to know. And if you do all the things, surely we can straight away, you can bring down the cost, because today O&M cost has come to a level of 1.5 to 1.7 lakhs per megawatt. It was when I started per megawatt. So nothing has changed. The situation, the equipment, everything is more or less same. So these are all innovative ways we can bring it down.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, just
Thanks,
just as a comment, I mean, as Mr. Premchand mentioned that the cost has reduced. So my point of view would be that this cost is reduced and it's automatically getting reduced. I mean, currently putting by robotic cleaning, you're already taking out the cost of the water. So instead of focusing more on the reduction of the cost of the O&M, we should focus more on how to improve the generation. Because there the value is more rather than just reducing the cost of the O&M. I mean, by using the digitalization techniques, if you can improve 1 or 2% generation of the plant, that would be a great way to move from the cost to the profit center.
Kapil, for your comment, see, we have done Python platform, some monitoring for which are substantially able to find out the string outage on a day-to-day basis. Today, my system will throw the data in the midnight. Okay, this particular string and the string number is out in the system before 6 o'clock, and the plant is up. And it has fantastically worked out. But there is a lot of struggle to bring to that level, because as you rightly said, billions of data is available. Who will do the filtering? Write the codes. These are all the major challenges today. If you look at it, nobody is very keen on doing all the things today. If somebody can make it and give it, people are willing to accept it. Otherwise, but we are with a couple of young engineers and some veterans in the solar industry who have worked from the Tata days onwards. So it is helping us to do so many innovations in that way. And that's how the e-security, drone, thermal EL, you are saying about the EL imaging. That's a big challenge. Actually, we tried a couple of times to do that, and the drone specification doesn't allow to carry that sort of a camera. So these are all the challenges we experience this. Because SB, I know we had done the project for you in Pavagada, so they also asked us to do the drone survey to see the thermal imaging, all the things. So I'm glad.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, speakers. I would basically just like to end with a vote of thanks from our side. Thank you, each one of you, for taking time out and sharing the insights, and individually, right from Mr. Premchand, Mr. Kapil Kumar, Madam Shilpi Dange, Mr. Madhu, Mr. Chaudhary, Mr. Sudhir Pathak, Mr. Brijesha, Mr. Prashant, each one of you, and also all the participants, and wish you a great festival season starting onwards, and hope that this festival brings us more positivity and joy out of this current gloom of Corona. So with this, I would like to hand it over to Anand. Sorry. Yeah, Anand.
Viral, I think Anand is had to go somewhere, so Anand is not available. I think we can just conclude here.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Anand. Yep.
Yeah. Hello. Very good evening, everyone. So thank you very much. I think the engagement level of this webinar and the importance of this subject, I think, is immense. And more than 200 people registered for this. We got an amazing response to the poll as well. So thank you very much. And I think it was quite a meaningful discussion. So I hope it was worthwhile for everyone. And special thanks to SENSEHAWK and also to all the panelists and attendees. Have a nice evening, everyone. And I wish you all be very, very safe and cautious during this pandemic times. And I hope this pandemic times gets over soon. And on this subject, we can have a mega conference soon. Thank you. Have a nice time. Bye. Bye for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anand. And
Thanks.
Thank you.
Great session. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.